There is a new lawsuit against the Alexander brothers. However, before I jump into those details, I do want to address this comment. I agree with you 100%, because the amount of people coming forward, amount of women coming forward, stating that pretty much a lot of what was done to them was done in front of others. There were witnesses and nothing was done is insane to me. Additionally, they insisted on giving the judge practically or promising their dad's entire net worth just to be released on bond. And she stated, we're not going to have different types of bond depending on the money that you bring to the table, which I agree 100%. If you're poor, I guess you're not going to go out on bond. That's not what we do. So kudos to her. However, I do agree with you. Now, when it comes to the lawsuit, the woman that filed the lawsuit, her name is Maylen Gehret, and in the lawsuit, there's additional witnesses that saw what transpired. She had met Alon and Oren in 2017, specifically January 27, 2017. She was 17 years old and was in Aspen, Colorado. She was there for the X Games, okay? Now, she states that that Friday night, her and her friends decided to go out and decided to go to a club. She said that when they arrived, it was crowded. There was lots of music. It was dark, had kind of a disorienting atmosphere, lights flashing, etc. She states that when she walks by Alon, a few minutes after arriving, he immediately did like a double take and kept kind of giving her eye contact. According to the lawsuit, it states that just a couple minutes after she entered the club, defendant Alon Alexander saw Maylen and did a double take. He grabbed Maylen's hand and urged her and her friends to join him at his table where all of his other friends were at, including his twin brother. She stated that Alon was pretty much exclusively paying attention to her. He started sharing that he was from Miami and that he was 30 years old. And she stated that she was only 17 years old at the time. According to the lawsuit, after she told him her age, he stated that he loved the fact that she was in high school and that he liked high school girls. He actually continued talking to her. She was actually surprised because age wasn't an issue. She stated that even though he knew that she was 17 years old, he gave her alcoholic drinks, which later she realized most likely contained drugs. Now, following the alcohol, she states that with that came unwarranted physical contact, where they were still at the table in the club. She said that while this was happening to her, she noticed Oren, which is his brother, trying to kiss one of her friends. And again, witnesses were also there seeing what was transpiring. As she is still standing at the table, he continues to touch her. And she said that at that point, she starts to feel drowsy, uncomfortable, and she was unable to keep her head up. She said that out of kind of desperation, she went ahead and put her head down on his knee. At this point, Alon told her pretty much so as to not draw attention to the fact that she had been drugged. He told her she was perfectly fine and to stop being so dramatic. He insisted that Maylen remain sitting in an upright position and stop lying down. And she stated that that was actually difficult for her. Now, as the club was closing, she at that point states that he invited her back to a residence, claiming that it was their residence, and that he ushered her into an Uber, and she stated that she was not going to leave without her friends, and that at that point he called her a good girl and that she was a good friend. That's, when they get in the car and she arrives to the residence. So as the report states, Maylen had presumed a resident unit at the Little Nell would consist of multiple rooms, but it turned out to be one room with 2 beds and no separate sitting area. Once in the room, the defendant insisted on keeping the lights off. She also states that she started panicking and that in the room, witness 1 and defendant Oren Alexander sat on one bed, which is the other brother, while defendant Alon Alexander made Maylen and witness 2 sit at the other bed. And keep in mind, witness 2 was already passed out. Now, she states that she felt paralyzed as if she couldn't leave. He slid his hands in her pants, and she just felt she couldn't defend herself, and she couldn't fight against him. That's when he had her go to the bathroom. So he brought Maylen into the bathroom and immediately shut and locked the door behind him, trapping her inside. And that due to the potentially spiked drinks and the age and the size of Alon Alexander, 17-year-olds, Maylen there was no way she was going to be able to defend herself. After he finished assaulting her, she states that he then grabbed her phone, told her to unlock it, and followed himself on Instagram from her account, and messaged himself, "Hey babe." And I think, or the speculation is that he probably did that to make it seem like they were good, they were hanging out together, and that approach came from her. Now, Oren, according to her, went to assault the other witness that was by him, but that she was actually able to fight him off, and that Alon actually went to witness 2, who was passed out, and assaulted her. Now, the lawsuit ends stating that Maylen has sustained past, present, and future severe psychological and physical trauma, pain and suffering, emotional distress, loss of enjoyment of life, and has been greatly injured in her reputation and character, as well as medical expenses and other economic losses. And her injuries will be permanent in nature, resulting in permanent impairment. So essentially, that is her way to prove that they, in fact, need to be held accountable and that there are damages in the lawsuit. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that their attorney stated that they were innocent and that she was 17 years old, and that 17 years old in Colorado is the age of consent, which would make sense if she in fact consented. However, according to that lawsuit, she did not. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, there are so many women coming forward that they're probably going to continue getting these lawsuits. As of right now, they are all being held without bond, including their additional brother, are being held without bond, both state and federal cases. I will continue bringing you guys any new updates. I just ask that you guys share and follow for more. Talk to you soon.